Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. And I call Jim Allister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm not given to quoting the late Tony Benn, but in one of his last speeches, maybe it was his last in the House of Commons, he said this: "In the course of my life, I have developed 5 vital democratic questions. If one meets a powerful person, Adolf Hitler, Joe Stalin, or Bill Gates, and I would add the EU, ask them 5 questions. What power have you got? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable? And how can we get rid of you? If you cannot get rid of the people who govern you, you do not live in a democratic state." And this, of course, maybe in a moment, this, of course, is the fundamental defining question of the protocol. Who governs? Now, I wonder if those who boast of the title Member of a Legislative Assembly have ever even read the protocol. When I listened to some of them today, have they ever read Annex 2 of the protocol? Have they ever noticed that there are 300 defined, named pieces of legislation which are imposed on us that we cannot change, that we did not make? Has it even come to their attention that during the course of this year, a further 20 regulations, 12 of them dealing with DAERA, 8 of them dealing with health, have been made, applied, imposed without any consent, without any input from the people of Northern Ireland? How can you seriously call yourself with pride a member of a legislative assembly if you are content not to legislate on 60% of that which governs our economy? That's the reality of the protocol. 60% of the laws that govern us economically are made not in Belfast, not in London, but in a foreign jurisdiction over which we have no control or even input. And then along comes the EU, that most benevolent of organisations, some would have us say, and they produce a non-paper, well named. This non-paper to deal with the democratic deficit shows the calculated contempt in which members of this Legislative Assembly are held. Because to deal with this situation, that we're governed by laws we don't make, over which we have no control, into which we have no input, what does the mighty EU say? It says, oh, we'll give you a website. Wow. We'll even give a talking shop as a backup to the Joint Committee. And if you're really good, we might even let some MLAs sit on another talking shop and talk to some MPs and some MEPs. And there are people in this House who salivate over that, who think that is democratic accountability. Such is their blindness, such is their obeisance to the EU, that if the EU says it, then that's enough. Where is your self-respect as a legislator? Where is your duty to your constituents who sent you here to legislate, that you surrender so willingly, so wantonly, control over 60% of the laws that govern our Assembly? This House is a disgrace if it takes that view, that it's not for us to legislate, it's for us to kowtow to Brussels, to accept what they say, to be grateful for the crumbs of a website even. My, how have the mighty fallen? Those who call themselves Social Democratic and Labour Party, so democratic, they eschew the very notion that we should rule ourselves. What an outrage has been put upon us by the protocol. I think Mr. O'Toole wants to enlighten me.
I'm grateful to the member for giving way. I just wondered, he famously asked Tony Benn's 5 questions: what power have you got, where did you get your power, and whose interest do you use it, etc., etc. I just wonder if he was to ask those questions of some institutions, for example, the House of Lords, the royal family, or indeed the Conservative government elected wholly on votes in England, to what answers do you think he would receive if he was to
I
ask
can ask those of a democratically elected
up to 6
assembly,
minutes.
I can ask them of a democratic elected parliament, but I cannot ask them of an EU Commission, I cannot ask them of an European Parliament, but they are the bodies who put their laws upon us. And if Mr O'Toole is sanguine and satisfied about that and thinks that is great, to expunge democracy for Northern Ireland and to grovel to accept a website and a talking shop, then really it says a great deal about Mr O'Toole and his party's democratic credentials. This motion is a grovelling salute to the oppression of Brussels, and therefore should be rejected, but won't be, because this is a grovelling house when it comes to the EU.
Okay, members. I now call upon Miss Diana